Toliau tęsiam neredaguotą pokalbius ir šiandien turėsim rimtą pokalbį apie tai, kas vyksta Ukrainoje. Ir kalbėsim su politiku Viktoru Tregubovu, kuris anksčiau aktyviai dalyvavo ir žurnalistinėje veikloje, ir buvo aktyvistas, ir kaip jau esam kalbėję, yra buvęs ir fronte. Taigi supranta iš pirmų patirčių, pavadinkim taip, kas vyksta nestabilioje zonoje. Tai, hello, Victor.
Hello.
So, the topic is, as usual, with you, no pleasant topics. It's always, about the aggression and the struggle and stuff like that. So we are hearing lots of, messages from what is US thinking about this escalation. We are hearing, the European Union most of the time bullshit opinions. In Lithuania, it's quite clear that, we are supporting your struggle. What is the actual situation right now in Ukraine and border and the mood between the people and the government?
Well, first of all, as in any big countries, there are different opinions. I can speak for maybe active Ukrainian society, political Ukrainian society, political activists, and not even activists, but guys and girls who are actually in the political process and in the street activism and in the, they read news more than once a week. So for us, that's a problem. We are actually tired to wait. We are tired to be afraid. And for now, we have this feeling like, okay, if you want, we're ready. Okay, if you want to attack. If you don't want to attack, well, off. So that's pretty simple. And I tell that for patriotic Ukrainian society. For Ukrainian government, I cannot be sure. Ukrainian government is also different in their opinions and perspectives. So I afraid that some part of Ukrainian government can be frightened, and some part of Ukrainian government that closer to military can also wait in this emotion like give me all you got. So.
Okay, I wanted to ask straight away about the president, but maybe I'll leave that for because there are a few questions regarding that. So I'm going to clarify what is let's say, what is your government, your military government saying in terms of this concentration of troops by the border, because we are reading that there's more troops than there were in the time of Crimean, annexion. What is the actual size of the threat? Let's put it like that.
That's clearly the numbers are clearly not sufficient to conquer all the Ukraine, or maybe half the Ukraine, but it's sufficient to create real problems, to conquer maybe some regions, or to make problems for our armed forces on Donbass if they will want to strike on Donbass or to surround them. So yeah, that's problematic, but that's for now that's still not life-threatening, but it could make situation a lot worse. So actually, for me, I'm a veteran myself, and me and all my comrades are waiting just to return if there will be a need. Ukraine have a great reserve, a reserve of several hundreds of thousands people with more or less some war expertise, and we actually are waiting to do our job. So for Russia, it should be some kind of blitzkrieg, I suppose. Some kind of rapid strike for Ukraine not to have time to mobilize all the people who want actually to join. So I don't think it will be some attempt to conquer Ukraine, but if that is not a bluff, and it may be still a bluff, they will try to do something local but painful. I don't know, maybe trying to attack Kharkiv, or maybe trying to attack Odessa, and so on.
Okay, so as I understand, you are part of the reserve as well. Have you received like I don't know, a call to action, or how is it called? Some kind of notification that you have to be ready on demand, or something like that?
No, and that's actually strange, and that causes some questions about Ukrainian reservists. Like, well, guys, come on. But I don't know, maybe that's some element of strategy for our government. But yes, that's strange. For us, for our reserve actually is even twice bigger than actually army for now. So we are waiting. We know that we should act by ourselves. You don't actually need to tell that to us, but it's strange that we still get no talking from government side.
Okay, so I'm just reading the Reuters news that like it's 8 hour old news, so quite fresh. That the U.S. Congress included like 300 million for Ukraine. As I understand, it's going to be some package, military package. And on the other hand, we had this Biden-Putin call, and looks like some sanctions has been lifted from Putin, so they can breathe more easily. So it's contradicting. The facts are contradicting each other in terms of this. Like we are helping both sides. So what do you feel like is the connection with your European partners, let's say the US? Are you expecting any help from abroad if this conflict escalates?
Well, that's pretty standard for now. We expect some help from our closest and dearest neighbors, I suppose Poland, Lithuania, and maybe some other countries near us, as well as we expect some support, at least diplomatical, from United States. And we don't expect much from Germany or France or Austria, so on, so on, so on. Even Sweden can be a more reliable ally in that case, even with them without NATO. So yes, we more or less we are counting on ourselves, but we still know that there are some weak links in our defense systems that our allies can help to cover. We are strong on land, that's for sure. We can make a significant problems for Russians on land, but we still have problems with our air and with our navy. So if someone can help in this case, either with, I don't know, anti-aircraft missiles, either with air cover or sea cover, it could be great for us, and it could be actually a lifesaver to stop Russian aggression, because if they will try to attack just with tanks and their infantry, it won't be easy for them with any numbers.
Okay, so I'm going to ask very straightforward. Is there any, like, I don't know, signal, let's say from Poland or from Great Britain, that they would support, with troops or ammunition or something like that?
There actually there are well, at least readiness from British side to give us instructions, British instructors. So that's good. From Polish side, recently I saw a questionnaire about do actually Polish society want to help Ukraine, and as far as I remember, 60% wrote yes, we want. And I suppose that that's more or less common for Polish society and Polish government. So I think some help will be given, but we don't know what kind of help. Will it be troops or weapons, or maybe, I don't know, some technical help? But I suppose it will be done, because Poland understand the severity of situation, and it understand it much better after the border crisis, as well as Ukraine.
Yeah, of course.
So well, maybe a month or 2 months ago, I was in Poland on one security conference, and our Polish colleagues was like, yes, we will help you. Yes, we understand the strategic problem, but that's far for us. NATO will help us. NATO will, and so on, so on, so on. As I see now, that even now, after 2 months of refugee crisis and Belarus border crisis, their situation, their views differs. They changed their views. They understood that in hybrid warfare, NATO is not sometimes a lifesaver and not an answer to all the problems Russia could give you. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. This border crisis, like brightened some horizons for some people, but not all. You wouldn't believe what our left-wing politicians are talking. So there is a serious diplomatic question from one of our listeners, and he's asking why Ukraine is not pushing on the Budapest Memorandum, because clearly like the parties that signed the memorandum, well, they are not contributing for what they signed. So is that a hot topic in terms of your government and like pushing the partners?
It is, and it was 8 years, or sorry, 7 years ago. But the problem is that formulas of Budapest Memorandum have no strict obligations. And actually, we are aware that it pretty much spoiled with all the actually all the sides. So Russia already attacked us. We cannot say, okay, leave Crimea because of Budapest Memorandum. They will just say no. And I'm sorry to tell that actually the other sides of memorandum are not so eager to make something real just because they signed it 25 years ago. Yeah, so for now, for us, it's a document and it's a problem. And spoiling of this document became a problem even for the countries and even for world security, because other countries who wanted maybe to disengage their nuclear weapons, they will think twice or thrice before doing that now.
Yeah, it would be a much different story if Ukraine would be a nuclear country right now. I mean, you would probably have been in the NATO and European Union by this time.
I don't know for sure, because truth to be told, with the situation we had in 2014, I suppose even nuclear weapon won't be of big help, just because of the situation where when the president was absent and there was some kind of lack of power for several months. It could even provoke aggression for Russia just to, okay, we should take that weapons because it could be in the hands of radicals or blah, 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 or terrorists or blah, blah, blah. So that's not that simple. It's not also not a lifesaver. But yeah, it could, for now, if we had nuclear weapons right now, I think it helped.
Well, at least, you know, the other side would be thinking more, you know, and like twice or or even more. So let's talk about this most not important but interesting, let's say, topic. You mentioned that in the past conflict the president wasn't present. Well, right now, well, let's say half a year ago, it looked like you have a president who is very, I mean, eager to do stuff. But right now, something has changed. So, as one of the questions who came from the person who basically introduced us one to each other is asking that you are one of the this gathering last week organizers of the gathering. That you want to, as I understand, overthrow the president, or what is the goal right now, and the most important is, why is this happening?
The goal was never to overthrow the president. We are both actually really surprised to hear from our president that on the same date will be some kind of coup d'etat. No, well, at least not from our side. We didn't plan anything like that, but we plan to make some political pressure on the president, and it had actually a good reasons. We had a good reasons for that. First of all, we have a problem with his head of office and the team that his head of office provided in office and even in the National Security Council. The problem is we actually know that
who is the head? Just to you know.
His name is Andriy Yermak.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that he is a bit corrupt person, that just because he got in corruption scandal just when he was appointed, his own brother tried to sell some state offices. He didn't sell, but he tried to sell, and it was caught on camera. So that's pretty scandalous, but president trusts him. And we suppose that Yermak and several persons he appointed, like Mr. Demchenko, is too close to Russia that we actually can afford right now, because that one of the guys he actually appointed as his own deputy was the guy who was against Maidan and who told during Maidan that actually police didn't use any weapons, that's all provocation, blah, 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 blah. But we, sorry, 100 of that. So it's we are afraid that in our stance, in our current situation, Yermak and his substitutes and Mr. Demchenko, who was appointed by him to Security Council, is if not direct Russian agents, but can become one under sufficient pressure or bribes from Russian side, and that frightened us because it's not so good to wage a war when you have a mole in your Security Council.
So just to clarify, so what was your intention in this gathering last week? What was the main agenda?
Pretty much simple. Remove Yermak or remove yourself with him. So we wanted for us to have a clear plan for our defense, for our war. We wanted to remove some persons who we actually afraid to be on position during the war, and to pay good attention to everything that's going on. We have, I don't know how Lithuanian society is familiar with so-called Wagner Gate.
Well, I'm pretty sure that Lithuanian society is not very familiar, but
The situation, okay, I'll explain. The situation is pretty simple. There was an operation of Ukrainian intelligence to detain a Russian private military company combatants, so-called Wagner company.
Yeah.
And this operation was spoiled. And some of our former intelligence officers are telling now that it was spoiled just because of Andriy Yermak, just because Office of President prevented from happening. And that's a great problem for us because it could lead to detention of 3 dozens of people who killed our guys on Donbass. That could be a great operation, a great revenge, and a great leverage against Russia. So for us, spoiling of this operation is a bad sign. And if we will prove that Yermak was actually involved in, and if we will prove that he was a part of that operation is spoiled, it could be a great problem for him and actually a great problem for us, because it means that he is actually acting as a Russian mole. But practically under Zelensky, he is kind of vice-president, and that's bad because Zelensky let him to participate in all summits, in all talks, in all international negotiations, which is actually really strange because under Ukrainian constitution, head of officer of president has no such responsibilities. So yeah, that's a problem, and that's a problem we want to fix before the hot stage of defense will start.
So if I understand correctly, like in the president office, there is very likely that there is a problem inside the office itself, yeah?
Yeah. There is definitely a problem, because if not Yermak himself, some of guys he appointed, like Mr. Tatarov, his deputy, or Mr. Shurma, is openly pro-Russian, actually openly. That's the case that after our first demonstration, he appointed Mr. Shurma, who is actually one of the leaders of so-called opposition bloc. And that's a strictly pro-Russian party, strictly pro-Russian movement. So, like, come on.
Okay, so just to clarify, is your president, the current president, has changed over the few years, or this kind of sidekick was always present? You know, what really happened here?
I think that our president is not a really independent person. He's not actually ready himself to be a president, from my opinion, because he's an actor, maybe good actor, but an actor, a comedian actor. So for him, it was always some kind of adventure. But people in his team are really different. Some of them are not ready for their position. Like, come on, security service of Ukraine is headed by his former colleague, comedian producer, and with no expertise, with no education in that field. And come on. So for us, there are actually two problems. One of the problems is lack of professionalism in his team, and second is that some guys in his team are more or less pro-Russian in their views, or sometimes even in their speeches, and we see that, and we have problems with that. So that's not the team that actually for us is not the team we hoped for that period of aggression. So we play with the cards we got. We don't want to overthrow a president or make some coup d'etat, because like, come on, guys,
the timing is not very good, yeah.
Even a cat as a president is better than no president in that circumstances. But we understand that that's a problem, and we're trying to fix all the problems we got now, just to be sure we survive the fight.
Just to clarify, the election of the president, how long is until the next election? Like, how many years do you have left?
It's a quarter, so-called. So it's 2 years. 2 years and a half.
Okay, yeah. So the other question that
that's long.
The other question was that there is a oligarch who is also, as I understand, is in favor of the Russians, and I'm talking about Rinat Akhmetov, and he is trying to do some kind of move to also promote his president candidate or whatever. So what is happening with this dude?
Oh, the situation is trickier now. Well, if in the year 2014 there was two main oligarchs, and one of them was more or less strictly pro-Ukrainian, it was Igor Kolomoisky, and Rinat Akhmetov was not even pro-Russian, but he tried to use Russians as a leverage for him to save some preferences. But that was 7 years ago. And now situation is different, because Kolomoisky became increasingly anti-Ukrainian just because of his position in Ukraine became worse. And Kolomoisky is the closest oligarch to our current president. He was the person who financed his presidential campaign, and who of the TV channel 1+1, that is actually the main staging ground of our president. So Kolomoisky now is more or less is not so patriotic as he was, and Akhmetov now lost too many too many positions in Donetsk. He was stationed in Donetsk. He was like a king of Donetsk region, but he lost most of that just because of Russian occupation. And he is not, I don't think that he will try to use Russians as leverage in foreseeable future, because it cost him really, really dearly. But for now, for our president, he is a good goal to attack. He is like a good, our president wants to pose himself as a fighter against oligarchs, that's for sure, but he cannot actually wage war against Kolomoisky, and he don't want to wage war to Mr. Pinchuk or Mr. Tarut or many other Ukrainian real oligarchs, so he chose two main goals: to pursue Akhmetov and to pursue Poroshenko. Poroshenko because Poroshenko is his adversary, and Akhmetov because Akhmetov is just a good goal in that situation. And that, of course, provoked a setback. And now Akhmetov is also trying to resist this operation from our government. So actually, the thing that Zelensky is doing now could be cool if Zelensky did it indiscriminately against all of oligarchs, but that's not the issue. Kolomoisky feels himself great. Some oligarchs like Mr. Kosyuk feels themselves even better because they didn't become the targets of that laws, and it's good for them. Their adversaries suffer, they don't. So they are not. So that's the situation we got.
Okay, so like we were mentioned in this, let's say, spotlight because there was a crew and a plane in Lithuania just a few weeks ago. I'm talking about the guys who flew to Vilnius to. As the media was portraying, they were staging some kind of, talks who could be the next president. And there was, Avakov, Gorissimo, and Gordon and Klitschko. What is your take on what was happening here? What was the purpose of this meeting in Lithuania?
You know how to differ an expert and a non-expert. A real expert always can tell, I don't know. So, truth to be told, I don't know. Any prognosis for now will be just a speculation. Let me make myself clear. During Maidan times, no one spoke about Poroshenko as a president. Actually, no one. He wasn't even in the ratings. And the most prognosed president was either Klitschko or Yatsenyuk. As you can see, Poroshenko became president in the first tour, just in several months. So, and no one could predict that Zelensky will be Ukrainian president because everyone talked about Poroshenko against Timoshenko, and everyone prepared to live under Timoshenko or to live still under Poroshenko. But here the dark horse came, and Zelensky, former comedian, won unexpectedly elections and got his biggest faction in our parliament, and that looks like some kind of TV show, but I actually don't want to be the part of the TV show, but still that's the situation we got. So I won't prognose anything for 2 years because I don't even know who. Maybe my friend Yuri Gudymenko, we're trying to to help him to get to this post. Maybe someone of the name we don't even know for now, just because there will be really big changes. Maybe there will be a war and some promising commander will make a fortune and a name. Maybe someone will die from COVID, or someone will become someone who is now on a lower position will become a great politician. For 2 years in Ukraine, it could be an epoch. So That's kind of like 100 years in normal countries. So.
Okay, so but what is your media talking about this meeting? Is it like a positive accent on the meeting, or negative, or it's like presented as some kind of underwater talks? What is the general vibe in the media?
Oh, well, the position of specific media actually depends.
You are talking like a politician, yeah. You became...
Yeah, from one who owns that media. So we have no some grand narrative for any of them, but the current shift is a shift against Zelensky. He tried to pose this shift like I'm battling oligarchs, so oligarchs are against me and oligarch medias are against me, but that's not just oligarch medias, even the several free medias in Ukraine are actually more or less critical to him. That's because of a number of scandals. Well, you can blame for instance, Radio Freedom to be oligarchic media, but it have some questions to corruption in his office, and for him using the state helicopters to get to his dacha and to celebrate the birthday of Mr. Yermak, and so on, so on, so on, so on. So yeah, even the neutral or foreign medias have some questions about like, guys, what are you doing right now? That's not the thing you should do in this historical period. So yeah, the current shift is to be more critical. Like we said in Ukraine, our honey months with our government is over. And it's, well, the second half of any presidency is much harder than the first half. That's always so.
Okay, so there is one more question regarding personality. There is a question about a person who is considered to be an agent, but as I understand from the person who is asking, that that guy is denying this, and I'm talking about Anatoly Shari, if I pronounce it correctly. What is this dude doing in Ukraine? Because I Googled him. So he's presented as a journalist, and also a politician. So what is happening with that guy?
Oh, do you want to hear my personal opinion?
Yeah, of course, Victor.
Neutral one.
No, hit us with your personal one.
For my personal opinion, Shari is a Russian informational mercenary. Well, I don't want to use obscenities
you can easily
in your show, yeah, but it's not a moral person, not a decent person, and not a good person as a whole. For me, Shari is the worst kind of pro-Russian informational activists. And for me, it's a shame that actually Europe, for now, gave him some kind of asylum, just because, and that's funny thing about Shari, just because his criminal case in Ukraine have nothing to do with actually his political position. It's a pure criminal. So it's for me, I hope that someday he will not get his asylum and he will go to Ukrainian jail when he, from my personal opinion, belong to.
All right, that's quite clear, and I think the guy that was asking the question got the answer.
Sorry if I.
No, it's good, because you are experiencing that info firsthand, and since you are our window of this show to Ukraine, so your position is kind of broadcasted as as the most important. So the other question I want to ask you is about, of course, we know that one of the weapons of Russian, all the puzzle games that they are playing is of course the gas, and this we already have this new connection. What is the situation, because the winter is here? What is the situation in Ukraine in terms of supplies, because we heard that there is some kind of contract with the Polish and some other country, I don't remember, Bulgaria or someone who is providing some gas. Are you ready, to survive the winter in terms of the heating and that stuff?
That's a big problem for now, and it depends. Actually, it depends from the the middle average temperature of our winter. So after the Nord Stream case, the situation became much and much worse. We have some reserves, but will there be sufficient reserves or not? It depends from the average temperature in February. If February will be a warm one, I think we could manage. On the peak, yeah, but we could. If it will be cold, we should seek for some additional help and some additional resources. And for now, that's a problem. And yes, that's an element of Russian hybrid warfare. And for us, the biggest problem is that Europe, and namely Germany, is actually, if not playing on side of Russia, but maybe succumbed to their pressure. I don't know how to put it lightly.
Well, there is some connection. I mean, we don't have to put it lightly. When it's very funny because in the the pro-European community, it's always mentioned that the Poland or the Hungary is a very, of course, I know Hungary is a kind of edgy topic to talk with the Ukrainian, but let's say Poland, they're saying, oh, they might be pro-Russian, or some other country, but actually the most pro-Russian country in the European Union is Germany, and the ex-chancellor of Germany is a good friend, and we are kind of joking what position she will get, after she retires,
Gazprom, yeah, like the previous did, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a problem, but I suppose that will be a problem for Germany also, because there is no friends for Russia. There is a really good example with Serbia, because Serbia got a cable contract with Russia regarding their gas, and now Serbia has a great problems with gas. Oh, they not only friends, they are almost like brothers for Russia, but
that doesn't help.
Yeah.
All right. So since I mentioned some of your border neighbors, in terms of the neighbors that, Ukraine have, do you have some who you would consider that in this conflict would not in any shape or form support you, but support the other party?
Support the other party?
I mean, the other party I'm talking about is about support Russia in terms of.
This situation, well, the answer is: do you consider Belarus to be a separate entity?
No. Well, we can keep the Belarusians out of this topic, but the other ones.
No. In that case, no.
because we know the tension. The tension with the Hungary is what is the current situation like with the Hungarians? Is it all settled, or there's still some issues?
It's not settled. The problem is Hungary, as far as I can get, that the Hungarian government is using the situation for their own local benefits. They try to pose their neighbors as enemies just to get local support. So basically, that's not that we are doing something wrong. That just they need an adversary on their border, so we can do anything about that. But I don't think that Hungary is a real threat for now. No, first of all, because they have no army, and our borderline is not so long. Our borders are maybe less than 100 kilometers. I'm afraid that I may be mistaken, but not long actually, and that's mountains. So we don't suppose anything like tank attack.
No, I wasn't thinking about that, because it's obvious that they won't do it. But I was just asking, in terms of maybe some supplies or stuff like that. So as I understand,
supplies to I beg my pardon, supplies to whom? To Russia?
No, supplies to you guys. I mean, as they would not supply you.
No. Of course, we don't expect from all our neighbors to support us. Of course not. We don't think that Moldova will support us. We don't think that Hungary will support us. We don't think that, I don't know, maybe Romania may be helpful, but it could be some kind of symbolic help for us. But we don't suppose they will support us. I understood your question like, oh, will they support our enemy or not?
No.
Not for sure. But we expect help maybe from our neighbors, maybe only for Poland, and maybe some help from Turkey, if you consider Turkey our neighbor.
Well, I think you already got some help in terms of drones.
Yeah, drones and some other stuff. Actually, for now, military cooperation with Turkey is a promising one. But we all know that it could end if Russia will find some ways, some arguments to stop it. But for now, it's working and it's good, and that's one of our good bets, I'd say.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask a stupid question for the for the last one, but like if you have, of course, it's your personal opinion, but like in terms of on the scale, I don't know, 1 to 10, like how likely is that some kind of military action from Russians are gonna be here in January, or I don't know, even December? Because there is the speculation in the media that January they will.
In December 1, in January or February, maybe I'd say 4 or 5.
Okay, so the threat is increasing as the new year turns, yeah?
Yes, definitely, just because for now they have no sufficient structure to do that. They could build that structure to January or February, but for now, as for me, that they still will have some problems, and it actually depends from actions of our partners and our government. So we could make things harder for them, and I think we will make things harder for them. So it still could be more of a bluff than of a real attack, but we'll wait, we'll see. We're actually prepared.
Okay, Victor, so I hope someday we're gonna have a pleasant talk about Ukrainian culture or something like that, but because we already had yeah, we already had 3 talks and 3 episodes, and they were all about this aggression of the aggressor that we have in the region. So anyway, thanks for taking your time, and thanks for letting us know how does it look from the Ukrainian side, because it's always better to talk to someone who is in the middle of the action. So
thank you for calling me.
Okay, thanks again. So ačiū visiems, kurie žiūrėjot. Nepamirškit mūsų socialiniuose tinkluose ir ką, iki kitų kartų.